Sundays and Christmas. I cares plenty for my wife, but I've been told a slave can't truly know love, being that the massa and white men in general has and takes certain privileges with our women. I suspect the deepest hurt in the world would be to risk being tied to a woman's hearth than standing on the front porch while the massa part her thighs, knowing that any cry raised is inviting death or worse. But what else but love make you hold that woman even tighter? Try to rock her back to whole again. Long after the tears dry up, and the hurt turns the ashes back to flames. It being nighttime and deep into winter, I can think of no other breath I wish to feel, no other whisper I ache to hear. What we allowed to feel might not rate as love, but it'd be powerful enough to make you rue the time between visits. Prenup agreement. One president's dream, plus two captains, almost 3 dozen men. One 15-year-old Indian wife, her baby, a slave, one 55-foot keelboat, 2 pirogues, 176 pounds of gunpowder, 420 pounds of sheep lead for bullets, not enough whiskey. Minus a gift of 12 dozen pocket mirrors, 4,600 sewing needles, 10 pounds of sewing thread, 130 plugs of tobacco for about 15 miles a day for 3 years and over 8,000 miles equals 2 heroes, double pay for all, 320 acres of land for the men, 1,600 for the captains, and nothing for York. Roll call. To hear hero makers tell it, wasn't nobody on the great expedition but captains. And them always mention seamen, Captain Lewis's dog, for they remembers me. Beneath the captains was 3 sergeants, though something evil got in the bowels of Sergeant Floyd, who took his life barely a year after we joined up. I was sorry to see him pass. Among almost 2 dozen privates was a sharp young boy, no more than 18, a couple of blacksmiths, and several Virginia and Kentucky men that knew their way around furs and skins. We had us a couple of Frenchmen, born and raised as Indians. Most of them could shoot straight, and some were pretty good hunters, though none could best me. And though all of the history books praised the captains, the most valuable members of the party were even lower than the privates, but be the ones to save all our lives, more than a time or 2. The real heroes were old cowardly Shabano's young squaw, and Dreer, another man full of both French and Indian blood. They were the best at talking with their hands, bargaining with the Indians along the way, and quieting the killer we sometimes seen in their eyes. Sacagawea was best at finding roots for us to eat when we were near starving, and one of the ones to steer us right when we were lost. And then there was me, just along to cook and carry, hear them tell it. But there'd be 2 sides to every story, and then there'd be the truth. This story be born of my own spit and memory. It'd be the only thing I own outright, and I gives it to you freely. The melting. Old York say Mandingo, Igbo, Dogon, Akan, Yoruba, and more be chained together in the bottom of boats and brought to this land. He said one of the tricks used to make a man a slave and kill his language be to take away the name he called himself. When I listens to the Sioux, the Hidatsa, Arikara, Mandan, Shoshone, Salish, Chinook, and even the Nez Perce all be called savage, Indian, red man, and children by the captains, I wonder how long it take before they answer to nigger too. In the name of the Father, them call the old guide that led us through the mountain, Toby. Sacagawea, Janie. Her little Jean Baptiste, Pump. And me, boy, or worse, have crossed their mind. Them call the beautiful Namiku people, Nez Perce, though we never saw a pierce-nosed in the mountain or plain. Them give a name to every stream and place we come across. Even name a group of small islands after me, without ever thinking to ask the people who live there already if they already had names. What is it, I wonder, gets in a white man's head so that when him look in the mirror, him always see God. But when him look at people with hair like lamb's wool, or feet of burnt brass, him only see devils. Cheering. How the river like a snake. She turned right, then left, then right again. Sometimes circling round almost to where we began. She make us dodge sharp trees, rocks, underwater logs, and moving sandbars. He pushes and pulls the keelboats and big canoes all day long, just to travel the distance a man could cover on foot in a few minutes. She put me in the mind of a long, mean snake that swallowed a pack of field mice. While we try to find a way out of her stomach, she swallowed rocks and sticks and enough cold water to keep us in her belly long enough for us to pass. My captains in the men's laugh, my fear of the river. And my sending her apologies and my prayers at night and while we work. But I know she alive. And I know she do all she can to break our spirit and make the company change their mind and give up the expedition. But she don't know that a company of rugged men who take well to orders is as fearless and hard-headed as she is wide and deep.
The river speaks. Call me the Ohio, the Mississippi, with Missouri. Call me Wood, Teton, Yellowstone, Milk, Judith, Marias, Jefferson, Madison, Beaverhead, Bitterroot, Snake, Clearwater, or Palouse. Call me the wide-toothed mouth of the Columbia River. Call me by my many creeks, my great falls, my hot springs. I am the snow atop Mount Adams, I am the salty hope in the air at Cape Disappointment. I am she who is the deep and the shallows, a thundering waterfall in a quiet storm. I am always present in the air, on every tongue, in every drop of milk and blood and tear. You will find me in every thorn and flower, seed and fruit. There is no life without me. I am libation and baptismal pool. I am your sprinkle of holy water. I am older than man and light. I am of God, not God. But like God, I am also inside of every man, for all are born in me and formed there, until they are flushed naked into the world. And I remain there in them like God, until they depart and return to dust. Captain Clark saw me as a great wet road that could be conquered by the rowing and paddling of men under his command. So I showed him my many rapids and waterfalls, made his men carry their boats and supplies around me for miles at a time. These were the good years. White men had not yet studied the beaver and learned how to redirect my paths, manage my flow, harness it for their own use, attempt to enslave me too. Captain Lewis was different. To him, I was a piece of art. He marveled at the natural falling of my waterlocks and felt humbled by the beautifully carved rock masterpieces that adorned my canyons and walls. While I have at most been an open way for the white man to the red man, I've been viewed as a helpmate, considered a wife, carrying their salmon and trout, providing for their transportation and nourishment, surrounding them, moving through them in the heat of the sweat lodge, answering their prayers when they dance. But the black was the only one taught to both fear and respect me. Though I was the road that carried the ships of death to and from Africa's shores, I became the waiting, outstretched arms for those who refused to be enslaved, for those who trusted me to rock their babies off to sleep. My ocean floors are covered with his people's resistance. I carry their spirit in every splash I make. Their humming, their lost voices, their last words have become part of my sweetest songs. When he is whole again, and York knows what he is worth, I will well up inside of him, and he will hear them sing.
Wakui speaks. We knew they were coming. Our medicine men have been telling of their arrival since before I was born. When our warriors saw their small tribe, the first thoughts were to kill them all, and with it, the destruction that they carried. This I also believed they should do, until I saw the black one, standing off to the side. A small mountain pretending to be a man pretending to be on a leash. To the unlearned eye, he looked to be all alone. But when I stared at him with my spirit eye, I could see a great long woman standing behind him, their arms crossed. A herd of strange-looking buffalo, large black cats, striped horses, and many other wild creatures I've never even seen in my dreams, all stretching to where the sun rises. I did not know what destruction his death would bring, so I counseled against it. And I talked kind of the white men who were nice to me when I was young and lost. This caused our warriors to put down their weapons and welcome them with open arms.
without Bibles. Massa calls them heathens when they clean their naked flesh in ice-cold mountain water before crawling backward into a hot, dark hole in the earth like they crawling back into the woman who first gave them life. Sit there and suffer in thick, steamy darkness with other naked men just to sweat and pray, sweat and sing, sweat and sweat and sweat, all the while asking for blessings for their family, yours, their enemies, the land, the water, plants, and all the animals them share the earth with. Sitting in a river of sweat be no more than bathing to the captains. But a blind man can see God in everything the red man do. Whooped. When the Mandan tried to kill his wife for lying with Sergeant Ordway, it caused the captain to place all married squaws off limits to the men's private commerce. One of them laugh and brag about how they had their way with the daughter of a chief for no more than an empty tobacco box. When we learn that the Indian believes that our powers can change hands and be gifted by passing through a woman's thighs, all of us take advantage. On every occasion, in most every village, all along the great trip, out and back. With Captain Clark's permission, I don't hesitate to enjoy myself. Even have my nose open by a Nez Perce gal as beautiful and rugged as the land we're traveling through. Grown folk on the plantation don't go around holding hands, go for canoe rides, or take long walks together. My Nez Perce gal was the first woman I chose on my own, and didn't have to share with another. I find myself staring in her eyes, smiling, learning my big buffalo self to move like a turtle in her arms. The men in the company think it's strange I not brag about how many ways or how long we ride each other. This way of being with a woman be so new and tender. I close my eyes and feel like a fresh-born calf, stumbling on weak, wet legs, discovering it's not the ground that be moving.
Like raven from head to toe. His hair and strength was not unlike that of the woolly-headed buffalo. Some of my people thought he had been burned by a great fire. Others thought he had painted himself in charcoal, as was the custom for warriors returning from the warpath, making him the bravest among his party. 2 hard, wet fingers did not remove the black from his forehead or arms, nor did the sweat from our naked turtle dance make his salty skin any less like the night. Seduction. I know a hungry man's eye can undress a woman from across a smoldering fire, because York did it warmed to his advances, I gave him permission and invited him over without ever opening my mouth. I looked away, then back, away, then back. So slow when my eyes returned to meet his, it made his nostrils flare, and my heart beat like two drums in my chest. He didn't have a courting flute, so the first music we made between us was a way of looking into each other's eyes and exchanging naked promises so full of heat, passerbys would swear we were already man and wife. His big hands were rough from a life full of hard work, but when they were filled with me, each one became a party of men deep in the wilderness, intent on exploring every mound and knowing all of the hallowed out and sacred places. Searching for camas and other roots to celebrate our choosing each other, I made pictures with my fingers and lips, trying to make the raving sun understand the number and beauty of the butterfly. A rainstorm came out from the hills and forced us to crawl under a giant pine's outstretched wings. Soft bed of needles beneath us, and the music from the steady downpour left us so warm and wet. We barely noticed when the rain stopped and moved on across the valley. Before our lips and tongues finally parted, we floated like two eagles circling mid-air, trying to pass off a just caught salmon a mile above the clear water. first moon. After the red-headed one's bed is made, and his stomach full of meat, he gives my Simuk Tutukin the slice of day left to do as he pleases. Pretending not to rush back to me, he passes by and nods. After I track him down in the dark, jump on his back, and wrestle him to the ground. Wander off laughing toward the horses, then follow the riverbank upstream holding hands, but looking for a private place to celebrate the way the moon dances on the face of the water. And find a rock to hold all of our clothes, and play in the shallows like children. But after our bodies kiss, we stop to weigh the gift of time and grow up real fast. Midnight Bride. After the fires die down, the moon full of shine allows us to wander off into the night's arms. And we're down by the river, and the night's music, our two quickly become one. Straddle the board him, a buffalo robe around my shoulder and nothing else. Close my eyes and ride low and close, the way a hunter tracks buffalo in the deep winter snow. Our gentle trot becomes a gallop, and after a good sweat, our gallop becomes a quiet stand. Then we bow our heads and wait for our breaths to catch up. After a quick dip in the cold river, I mount back up for warmth, and we ride slow and long until my legs quiver and York finds the strength to harness himself. When he carries me back home to our mat, folded up in his arms like a child, we lie down in the lap of night, both empty and full and sleep.
York.
Forsaking all others. Babies have mothers to feed them and keep them warm. Old men have children to comfort their gray years. What kind of man needs another man to make his bed, pack his things and carry his food, and him not lame or blind? What kind of man makes one with such big medicine pretend to be a child and less? How will he treat our warriors when he does not need our food to stay alive? I want to spit on the ground when he comes near. I cannot respect the red-headed one. And honor my black man too. False impressions. When winter comes, my people circle up and agree on the most important thing that happened in the year. An awful flood, an important battle, or the passing of a great warrior. Boil it down to a picture, scratch it out on a rawhide, and charge the storyteller with remembering the details of the story. The captains believed they impressed the native people with their guns and mirrors and power and coins and beads. But they didn't even earn a winter count.
Hunter's Code. Train a sharp eye and ear. Travel light.
Pray for a worthy adversary. Always track game downwind. Don't waste ball and powder to steal blade and kill. Kill only to eat.
Spare the young and then heavy with calves. Make the wounds quick and clean. Do not let the animal suffer. Give thanks for the hunt.
Pour some water for the ancestors. Apologize for bringing death to the living.
Leave some behind for the forest.
Taste the tender liver, but always eat the heart first.
Learning curve. When I was stolen as a child and taken far from home and girlhood, I learned to hate, and I cried all the tears I had. When I become second wife to Charbonneau, I learned to serve. He older than my own father, and not ride me hard or long if I lie still and quiet and swallow all my tears. When I become a mother to my little Hunter, his eyes meet mine and melt my stone heart. This teaches me to love again, but my work doubles itself, and soon I have 2 men to serve. hard to know who is in charge. As if even a circle need a captain. Then I reflect on how a full moon, the bright sunball, and even my son's hungry mouth all seem round and perfect as the way my people see things. Water breaks again. But this time, instead of a brave little hunter or dancer, I give birth to a great emptiness that I know I'll carry on my back forever.
Honor and obey. Agreeing to be Captain Clark's manservant be something like being married. Only in joining with a wife, I have some say. And with Captain, I have none. I say agreeing because I had many an opportunity to escape and run away, but I chose to stay and keep our agreement assault. Though many could never make good sense of that. Some say I stayed for fear of punishment, for fear of losing my privileges like hunting with a gun, a fear of being treated like any other field hand. And I reckon there's some truth in all of that. But fear ain't the only thing to keep people wedded. After the wedding night, they figures out who gets to say and who gets to do. And that'd be an easy thing if you believe one born to rule over the other. But if you start out believing it's so, then you come to figure out that it's wrong like I did, that can be a bitter root. I was so angry for mistaking blindness and foolishness for what I thought was loyalty, I tried to drown myself in whiskey. I am ashamed that I called myself a man, but never man enough to question if it be right just to put a boot on somebody's neck because they be black or just because they be woman. I'd be even more ashamed not to see the double booting of them that was both.
Power, touch. When things was first born, sun touch moon and pass on light. Moon touch water and pass on dance. Water move upon land and give her hips. Hips give birth to trees. And them bear fruit. Fruit teach man to plant seeds. Man plant seeds, and woman become moon. Moon get full, give birth to sun.
5 things I don't know. I don't know why he thought he'd earned his freedom. I don't know why he thought he was more than just a slave. I don't know why he just won't quit that woman of his. I don't know why God made them as easy to train as mules, but twice as ungrateful. I don't know why he insists on making me prove who's boss.
A New York. Every time I see a beautiful anything with a Mustang heart, catch the moon with her eye wide open, or hear the river slap a wet rock like a man slap his woman's thigh at night, I close my eyes and I see her standing there, naked, after a hard rain, belly full of promises. And I suddenly remember what huckleberries taste like. Then I know it's one thing to force a man to remember his life as a slave, and then another to expect him to forget such gifts as these.
Field up. When brother come back from the journey, colored folks come from miles round and sits on the porch all night just to hear stories about the Indians and the ocean. Some of the things he say get us young bucks mighty excited and stirred up and scares off the older ones, especially when he talk a tasting freedom. What it means to be a man, and how out west they worship our blackness and live married to the land like our people do back in Africa. He have us all strutting like roosters, our backs straight and our chins up. And not rushing to grin or fetch it when called boys or children or uncle or less for a long time.
Unwelcomed guest. I don't think you're known. I could see her too. The first time was in the corner of his eye, while he looked far off, but stared at the plate right in front of him. He didn't say nothing about her, but the way his lips turned up at the end said plenty. I ain't one to sass. His growl helped me to know a slave woman's place. So I just sits up all night with both my hands and ears open, waiting to catch a name on his lips. After that, no matter how much he talked of buffaloes, grizzlies, big fish, mountains, or ocean, she become all I can see, all I want to know. It gets so crowded in our little place, I swear, I can almost smell it. And by then, I know one of us has to go. The sunflower seed oil conjurer. First, I get some fresh well water and puts it on the boil. Stirs up a tea brewed from apricot vine, rattlesnake weed, and plenty of honey. Then, I sit him down between my legs, and with a wooden comb left to me by my mama's mama, commences the scratching of his scalp to his shoulders look covered in snow. Then I fills my wash tub with boiling water, doctored with peppermint root, and sets to scrubbing him slow so the heat can open his doors. Once his body cleans, I starts back to work on his head, busting up a mean suds and using my fingers to walk up and down his scalp till he let loose a low moan and his eyes starts to roll around in his head. After I rinses and twists all the force out, I starts back in with the warm sunflower seed oil. Only this time, every finger makes its own little circle, while both my hands make bigger ones. And they follows each other from the stiff tree limbs in the back of his neck, across his crown, to the top of his head where my thumbs dig in slow and deep where the headaches come on. I pours the extra oil into my hands and rub his neck and his shoulders, down to his ribs and arms. And like a turtle dance, I moves back up again. I works slow and hard. And after a while, when I gets all the way to his man sack, he opened his eyes and be glad it's me. Chapel of Love. After a tin of apricot vine tea, us use the buffalo skin as the earth and pile a bunch of quilts into something like a handmade sky and makes us a real lodge of sweat. It could be based on how much calling on God come forth after dark. What married people do on bended knee, once them past their anger, can be holy too.
To have and to hold.
Real cost.
It do more harm than good to be enslaved than agree to love forever. And there be folks over us with more power than death to do us part.
Somewhere out there, he learned to touch me like I'm a woman and not just some woman, me.
Being another man's property, all I can promise is that while we're in the same quarters, no one will hold you more close or with more tenderness than me.
In our marriage bed, he seemed as interested in pleasing me as he be in spilling himself.
If ever I have to choose between another day of service and death, I will always choose living.
I knew he'd come back changed when new words fall out his mouth, like love and freedom and manhood.
Even if the master sailed me down the Mississippi tomorrow, or pair me up with another woman to breed.
And there come a look in his eye, like he owned all three, free and clear, and don't need no papers to prove it.
I will only think on what we had and chase away all thoughts of what we had not.
But it scared me, cause I seen that look in many a black eye before white hammers nail it shut or leave it frozen open and swinging to teach the rest what anything that smelled like courage cost.
I aims to see you every Sunday and Christmas, but if ever I'm away for more than 2 whole seasons without sending back word,
I have no doubt he'd give his life to stay with me. So I don't tell him that Master taking me back down south.
untie the ribbon from that broom we jump. Mourn for me but a little. Then set your mind to figure on how you're gonna stay warm when winter comes.
So I just kiss him soft to sleep and stare at him long enough to call up his face when I get old. And thankful he still be breathing somewhere when winter comes.
I love my servants. As much or more than my friend Lewis loves his fine Newfoundland seamen. They've become so much a part of my family, it would grieve me mightily to lose any or to have to sell them off. I have had to give the lash to nearly all my people since my return, as they've developed a most sour attitude, which has begun to affect their work. Any interruption of work or questioning of my authority costs me time and money. I've never cut off limbs or fingers, starved near to death, cuffed women in irons, or beat any of my Negroes stupid like other men. I provide for their food, clothing, shelter, and medical care. I treat them like my own children until they are buried in the grave. Others think me cruel for not granting manumission to my boy York. But what reasonable businessman would cut a hole in his own purse?
Umatilla prophecy. Our people will be herded like buffalo and walked backward from their own land until they fall off a great cliff.
Coyote will pretend to fall with them and offer firewater, guns, and beads in exchange for their tongues and wisdom.
Young warriors will trade their best ponies for white man clothes and iron horses. Many will forget the sweat and the hunt.
Our storytellers will stop the winter count. The rivers will turn to stone. White men will write down our truths.
But when they gather in great numbers to celebrate their long trip to the ocean and back, many tribes will open their eyes and speak as one.
Before our feet touch the ground, we will grow eagle wings and buffalo horns and fly back to our homeland and rescue our stories. The mountains will see us coming and weep. The rivers will see us coming and sing. The salmon will see us coming and dance with joy.
Vision Quest. In my dream, I am standing in a deep, deep hole, surrounded by a herd of woolly-headed buffalo. And hands as big as mine are throwing dirt on my body. At the edge of the hole, an old white man is wrapped in a flag, standing with his back turned away, writing in a book with a long gold quill. Above me in the clouds, an eagle is flying in circles. When she folds her wings and starts to dive, I feel my body float toward the surface. Her screeches are loud and piercing. They vibrate everything above and below the water. She screeches one final time, just before she plucks me out of the river and carries me away, dancing like a fish.